Welcome back to the Explainer. Today, we're going to unlock a seriously powerful tool that'll take your storytelling from just a series of snapshots to, like, a full-on motion picture. We're talking about adding life, depth, and a real sense of time to your sentences.
So, think about it, right? When we say something like, "The Queen entered," you see a single finished action. It's a snapshot. Done. But what was happening right before she walked in? What was the vibe in the room? How do we talk about the action that was already in progress?
Well, that's where the progressive tense comes in. It is the perfect tool for describing ongoing action. Seriously, think of it as your own personal time machine. It lets you zoom right into a moment and see everything that was happening all at once.
Okay, let's fire up that time machine. First stop, we're going to explore this idea of the action that's happening in between all the big moments.
Okay, check out the difference here. The Queen entered. That's a single event. It happened, it's over. But the girl was crying? Now that's a whole scene. It's an action that was already happening when the Queen showed up. It creates a mood, it gives us a backstory. That's the power we're talking about. Let's start by setting our time machine's dial to the past. We're going to see how we can describe actions that were already in full swing at some specific point back in time.
And for that, we use the past progressive tense. It is exactly what it sounds like, an action that was in progress at a specific moment in the past. So you see, it's not just about what happened, but about what was happening. Big difference.
And the cool part is, it's super versatile. There are basically 3 key ways we can use it to paint a much richer picture of the past. Let's take a look at each one. First up, in interrupted action. So here, the crying was already going on, right? That was the background scene. Then bam, the Queen walks in, interrupting it. The past progressive totally sets the stage for the main event.
Second, you can show 2 things happening at the very same time. The girl was crying, and while that was going on, her mother was cooking. This paints a complete picture of a scene with multiple things happening at once.
And third, we can use it to describe a repeated, almost habitual action. They were always crying. Tells you this wasn't just a one-time thing. No, it was a pattern of behavior in the past. And the progressive tense lets us show that nuance perfectly.
All right, time to adjust the dial on our time machine and jump forward. We've looked back, so now let's take a little glimpse into the future.
And just like its past tense cousin, the future progressive describes an ongoing action, only this time it's an action that will be happening at some specific point down the road. It lets us actually picture a future scene before it even happens.
Take a look at this sentence. The girl will be spinning flax all her life. See, this isn't just predicting that she'll spin flax once. It describes a continuous, ongoing state that's going to stretch across her entire future. It's the difference between saying, tomorrow I will work, which is just a fact, and tomorrow at this time I will be working. One is a statement, the other is a scene you can actually visualize.
So now we know why we use these tenses, which is great, but how do you actually, build them? Well, the good news is the formula is super simple and really consistent. Let's break it down. So for the past progressive, you just need 3 little parts. You start with your subject, say, the girl. Then you add the past tense of to be, so was for one person, were for more than one, and finally, you just add your main verb with an ing at the end. The girl was crying. Simple as that.
And honestly, the future progressive is even easier because there's less to remember. You've got your subject, then you always add will be, and then you tack on your ing verb. The girl will be spinning. It's a clean, reliable pattern you can use every single time.
Okay, now that we've got the basics down, let's talk about a pro tip that's going to make your speaking and writing sound way more natural and fluid, and that is contractions.
When we're actually talking, we almost never say the full negative form, like was not. Instead, we mash them together. Was not becomes wasn't, will not becomes won't. That little apostrophe just takes the place of the letter O. It's a tiny change that makes a huge difference in how you sound.
And these shortcuts aren't just for making statements. They are absolutely essential if you want to ask questions that sound natural and not, robotic.
For a direct question, the contraction usually comes right at the beginning. So instead of the super formal, is he not going to the show? We just say, isn't he going to the show? It's just quicker, and it's what you'll hear every day.
And this also leads us to something called a tag question. It's really cool. You start with a statement like he is going to the show,
And then you add a little tag at the end to ask for confirmation, isn't he? It's a simple trick to turn any statement into a more interactive question.
So when you boil it all down, the crucial point is this. The progressive tense isn't just some boring grammar rule you have to memorize. It's a storytelling engine. It's what allows you to move beyond simple facts and start building living, breathing scenes full of action, whether they're in the past or the future.
You officially have the keys to the time machine. You can set the scene, you can create suspense, you can show life in motion. So really, the only question left is, what stories will you be telling?